I'm going to tell you something most finance channels will never say because it doesn't help them sell anything. The reason most middle-class people never build real wealth has almost nothing to do with their income. It has almost nothing to do with their investment choices. It has almost nothing to do with the stock market or interest rates, or the economy, or any of the external factors that finance content loves to blame. The real reason is something that happens quietly inside their own spending behavior every single time their income goes up. Something so gradual and so natural that most people never notice it happening until years have passed, and they're earning twice what they used to earn and somehow still living paycheck to paycheck wondering where it all goes. It's called lifestyle inflation, and it is the single most effective wealth destruction mechanism that exists for middle-class households. Not because it's dramatic, because it's invisible, because it feels like progress, because every single upgrade feels completely justified in the moment, because the entire consumer economy is specifically engineered to make it feel that way. Welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to break down exactly how lifestyle inflation works, why it's so hard to see when it's happening to you, and what specifically to do about it. No vague advice, just the real mechanics and the real math. Hit subscribe if you want to keep seeing the honest version of what's actually happening to people's financial lives. Let's get into it. Lifestyle inflation is the automatic and almost unconscious expansion of your spending in proportion to your income. When income goes up, spending goes up to match it. When income stays flat, spending finds a way to creep upward anyway. The result is that the gap between what you earn and what you spend, which is the only gap that actually builds wealth, stays narrow or closes entirely regardless of how much your income grows. Here is the clearest way to see it. A person earning $45,000 a year is living what feels like a reasonably tight budget. They're careful. They track things. They think about purchases. They feel the constraint of their income, and that constraint shapes their decisions. Then they get a raise to $60,000. That's $15,000 more per year. $1,250 more per month before taxes. Maybe $900 more per month after taxes. And something changes. Not dramatically, not all at once, but gradually over the next 6 to 12 months, their lifestyle expands. They move to a slightly nicer apartment. The difference is $250 a month. They upgrade their car when the lease comes up. Payment goes from $280 to $420. They start shopping at the better grocery store. They go out to dinner more often because they can. They upgrade their phone a year earlier than they would have before. They add 2 new streaming services. They start saying yes to weekend trips they would have skipped. None of these individual decisions feel significant. Each one feels completely justified by the raise. You work hard. You earned more. You deserve to enjoy it a little. But add it up. The apartment is $250 more. The car payment is $140 more. The grocery difference is $80 more. Dining out is $150 more. The streaming services are $25 more. The miscellaneous small upgrades across everything else add another $200. That is $845 per month in additional spending. Against $900 in additional take-home. The raise generated $900 more per month. The lifestyle absorbed $845 of it. The net improvement to the savings rate, $55 per month. From a $15,000 annual raise. This is lifestyle inflation in its most typical form. And it happens at every income level. The person going from $45,000 to $60,000. The person going from $90,000 to $120,000. The person going from $150,000 to $200,000. The income doubles. The lifestyle doubles with it. The wealth gap barely moves. Here is the part that makes lifestyle inflation genuinely difficult to address. It doesn't feel like a problem. It feels like success. Every single upgrade feels like the appropriate reward for working hard and earning more. The nicer apartment doesn't feel like lifestyle inflation. It feels like finally having the space and environment you deserve after years of cramped living. The better car doesn't feel like overspending. It feels like reliability and comfort that your increased income reasonably supports. The better grocery store doesn't feel like waste. It feels like taking care of yourself and eating better. The more frequent dinners out don't feel like budget destruction. They feel like enjoying life and connecting with people you care about. Every single upgrade has a reason attached to it that makes it feel justified. And here is the really important part: most of these reasons are not entirely wrong. There is genuine value in a comfortable living space, in reliable transportation, and in good food and social connection. The problem is not that the upgrades are worthless. The problem is the automatic nature of them. The problem is that they happen as a default response to higher income, rather than as deliberate choices made against a clear financial plan. The problem is that nobody sits down and says, I now earn $15,000 more per year. I am deliberately choosing to allocate $10,000 of it to these specific lifestyle improvements and directing the other $5,000 to savings. Instead, the lifestyle just expands organically to absorb most of the raise, without any deliberate allocation decision ever being made. That automatic expansion is what makes lifestyle inflation so dangerous. It's not that people are making bad individual choices. It's that they're not really making choices at all. The spending is happening on autopilot, while the deliberate wealth-building decisions never get made. There is also a powerful social dimension to this. As income rises, the social reference group changes. The people around you, your colleagues, neighbors, social circle, are often at similar income levels. And the things they do, the places they go, the things they own become the new normal. Keeping up stops being about keeping up with the Joneses down the street and starts being about fitting in with a peer group whose baseline spending has shifted upward. Let's look at the actual wealth destruction math here, because the numbers are genuinely alarming when you run them fully. Take two people. Both start at $50,000 annual income at age 25. Both get identical raises throughout their careers. By 45, they are both earning $100,000. Their career trajectories were identical. Person practiced lifestyle inflation at every raise. Their savings rate stayed at roughly 5% of income throughout. They always saved a little, but the lifestyle always absorbed most of the income growth. At $100,000 income, they are saving $5,000 per year. Their lifestyle costs $95,000 per year to maintain. Person B capped lifestyle inflation deliberately. Every time they got a raise, they allowed themselves to spend half the after-tax increase on lifestyle and directed the other half to savings. Their savings rate grew with their income. By $100,000 income, they are saving $20,000 per year. At age 45, 20 years in, person has accumulated roughly $150,000 in investments, assuming 7% average annual return. Person B has accumulated roughly $800,000. Same income, same career, same 20 years. Difference of $650,000. From one behavioral pattern. Now extend it to retirement at 65. Person A has roughly $580,000. Person B has roughly $4.1 million. Same income, same career, 40 years, $3.5 million difference. Generated entirely by the decision about what to do with raises. That $3.5 million is not generated by investment genius. It is not generated by lucky stock picks or perfect market timing. It is generated purely by not allowing lifestyle to automatically absorb every income increase. That is the actual cost of lifestyle inflation measured over a working lifetime. Here is the part nobody talks about clearly enough. Lifestyle inflation is not entirely spontaneous. It is actively engineered by an enormous consumer economy that makes its money specifically from the gap between what you earn and your willingness to spend it on things that feel like upgrades. Every time your income goes up, you become a more valuable target. Your spending capacity has increased. And the entire marketing infrastructure, every ad, every algorithm, every social media post from every brand you follow, immediately begins working to capture that increased capacity. The car industry knows when your lease is up. The real estate industry knows what income bracket you're entering. The travel industry knows what aspirational destinations people at your income level are looking at. The fashion industry knows what your social reference group is wearing. The restaurant industry knows what dining experiences people in your zip code are seeking. Every industry that depends on consumer spending has become extraordinarily sophisticated at identifying the moment when your income has increased your spending capacity and presenting you with an upgrade that feels perfectly calibrated to that moment. This is not conspiracy. This is just what happens when you combine vast consumer data, sophisticated targeting algorithms, and an economy that depends on continuous spending growth. The result is an environment where lifestyle inflation is the path of least resistance, where every data point about you is being used to present you with the next logical upgrade at exactly the right moment. The social media dimension of this has made it dramatically worse over the last decade. You see what people at your income level or slightly above are doing, eating, driving, wearing, and living in, not because you're jealous, but because the algorithm knows that social comparison is the most effective spending trigger that exists. The feed shows you the aspirational version of what your income level can access. And the gap between where you are and what you see creates a persistent low-level pressure to upgrade. Understanding that this pressure is manufactured, that it is specifically engineered to extract money from the gap between your income and your saving rate, doesn't make it disappear. But it changes the nature of the choice. Every upgrade you make in response to that pressure is a choice you're making for the benefit of someone else's revenue. Once you see it that way clearly, it becomes easier to make deliberate choices rather than automatic ones. Not all lifestyle inflation is equally damaging. Some spending increases are one-time events. Others are permanent changes to your fixed cost structure that follow you forward for years. The most damaging lifestyle inflation is the kind that becomes a fixed monthly obligation because it doesn't just spend money once, it commits future money indefinitely. The three categories that do the most long-term damage are housing, vehicles, and recurring services. Housing first. When income goes up, people move to nicer apartments or buy more house than they need. The rent or mortgage increase is permanent. It doesn't go back down. $400 monthly rent increase from a lifestyle upgrade is $4,800 per year, and it continues every year until you move again. Over 10 years, that's $48,000 in additional housing cost, plus the opportunity cost of what that money could have compounded into if invested. Vehicles second. The car payment that goes from $280 to $450 is $170 more per month, and it typically runs for 5 to 7 years. That's $10,200 to $14,280 in additional vehicle cost per loan cycle, plus higher insurance on the more expensive vehicle, plus higher registration fees. The vehicle upgrade cascades into multiple cost categories simultaneously. Recurring services third. Gym memberships at nicer facilities, meal delivery subscriptions, cleaning services, higher-tier phone plans, premium streaming packages. Each one individually seems modest. Collectively, they can easily add $300 to $500 per month to the fixed cost structure. And because they're automatic monthly charges, they become invisible in the same way all subscriptions do, paid without conscious attention month after month. The insight that matters here is to apply different scrutiny to permanent fixed cost increases than to one-time discretionary spending. Spending an extra $500 on a vacation is a one-time event. Increasing your monthly rent by $400 is a $4,800 annual commitment that you've made for every future year until you change it. The vacation doesn't follow you forward. The rent does. Before any lifestyle upgrade that creates a new permanent monthly expense, ask one question. Am I willing to pay this additional amount every month for the next 3 to 5 years? Not just this month when I have the raise. Every month. Indefinitely. That question reframes the upgrade from a moment of enjoyment into a long-term financial commitment. And it filters out a significant portion of the upgrades that feel right in the moment, but look different as permanent obligations. Let's get practical and specific. Here is what actually works. First, implement the raise rule. Every time you get a raise, the rule is simple. Half of the after-tax increase goes to savings or debt paydown before anything else. Before the lifestyle adjusts. Before the new spending baseline forms. The other half you can spend however you want, genuine lifestyle upgrades, whatever matters to you. But the first half is captured by savings before your spending has a chance to absorb it. This single rule implemented consistently at every raise closes most of the lifestyle inflation gap over a career. The reason this works is timing. The lifestyle inflation problem is that spending adjusts upward to meet income before savings decisions get made. The raise rule reverses the order. Savings decision first. Lifestyle can have whatever remains. Second, separate your savings account from your checking account and automate the transfer. The money that's earmarked for savings should never appear in your checking account. It should transfer automatically on payday to a separate account you don't monitor regularly. Money you never see, you never spend. This is not complicated. It is just a single setup decision that runs automatically forever. Third, audit your fixed costs every 6 months. Not your discretionary spending. Your fixed costs. Every recurring monthly obligation, rent, car payments, insurance, subscriptions, regular services. For each one, ask yourself, is this genuinely improving my life enough to justify the permanent monthly commitment? If yes, keep it. If no, cut it. This audit catches the fixed cost creep that lifestyle inflation produces and reverses it before it compounds into years of unnecessary spending. Fourth, delay lifestyle upgrades by 3 months after every raise. Not indefinitely. Just 3 months. Live at your current lifestyle on the higher income for 3 months and save the difference. After 3 months, make deliberate decisions about which upgrades you actually want. You will find that some of the upgrades that felt urgent immediately after the raise feel much less urgent 3 months later. The ones that still feel important after 3 months are probably worth doing. The urgency was manufactured. The genuine desire is what remains after the urgency passes. And fifth, redefine what progress looks like. Most people measure financial progress by the visible quality of their lifestyle, the apartment, the car, the vacations, the things people can see. Real financial progress is measured by net worth, the growing gap between what you own and what you owe. A person with a modest visible lifestyle and a growing investment account is making more real financial progress than a person with an impressive visible lifestyle and stagnant savings. Changing what you measure changes what you optimize for. So here is the full picture. Lifestyle inflation is not a discipline failure. It is not a character flaw. It is the default output of a financial life without deliberate rules, in an economy specifically engineered to capture every dollar of income growth before it reaches savings. The middle class is not broke because it doesn't earn enough. Many middle-class households earn more than enough to build significant wealth over a working lifetime. They are broke because the system is extraordinarily effective at converting income growth into spending growth before the wealth-building decisions get made. The Ray's Rule. Automated savings. Fixed cost audits every 6 months. 3-month delay on lifestyle upgrades. And redefining progress by net worth instead of lifestyle visibility. 5 things. None complicated. Just the decision to implement them and the consistency to maintain them. The gap between looking successful and being financially secure is lifestyle inflation. The people who close that gap do not earn dramatically more. They just decided earlier that income growth was for building wealth first and lifestyle second. That decision made consistently at every raise is worth more than any investment strategy, any market timing, any financial product that anyone will ever try to sell you. Drop a like if this explains something you have been experiencing without being able to name it. Subscribe if you want to keep seeing the honest version of what is actually happening to people's financial lives.